Hello and what's up, my dudes? Today's video is going to be a letter addressed to my younger self as I was creating art. So for those of you who don't know, I've been drawing all my life, but I haven't been drawing in order that 90% of that was not drawing to get better. It was just drawing for the sake of doodling. There was no intention to get better. I was just drawing with really no intent or purpose. I really only started to apply myself with art about a year ago after meeting one of my friends, reconnecting with one of my friends. She's tiny_Jen on Instagram. I'll link that down below. And rediscovering my love for art. And in that moment, I was kind of also writing this new alternate universe story with a bunch of my characters that I wanted to not only create on paper with words, but also with art. So that was about a year ago. And since then, I've been actively applying myself and trying to get better and finding inspiration from other artists in order to teach myself. But in that year, there are many things that I wish I could have known and been able to tell myself. So there's about 5 points that I have written out here that I will be addressing to my younger self. So this will apply to everyone, not just me. So if you're on an art journey yourself, listen up. So, dear Aloha from 1 year ago starting on her art journey. The first thing I want to tell you is to be patient. This is the first step because it's going to tie into every single step that is to come. Patience is the key to everything. Practice takes patience. Improvement takes patience. Creating takes patience. Everything takes patience. If you try to rush something and be impatient with it, there's a high chance that it's not going to come out the way that you actually wanted. So this is our most crucial point. Be patient. And I wish that my younger self could have been patient. I used to always rush my drawings. I still have the bad habit of doing this today where I just get so impatient and frustrated with my drawings that I kind of rush through them and I call them finished before they're actually finished, when in reality I should just kind of take a step back and come back to it later. Like, we'll be able to see it in this drawing near the end when I start doing the tarot cards. I kind of rushed through them, and instead of finishing each individual card like I had originally planned to and making more intricate designs on each of them, I just kind of skipped through it and made something up because I was so impatient with how long it was taking. So number one thing, be patient. Number two, stop playing it safe. And this video is exactly something that was not safe for me. I don't do backgrounds. I have a hard time making characters interact with backgrounds, but this time I wanted to push myself out of that safe zone. I wanted to make it really challenging for myself. And while I failed in some ways, like the tarot cards, because of my lack of patience, I did succeed in making a pretty cool piece, I think. But that's it. I know there can be frustration when stepping outside of the box, and it's easier to draw things that we feel good drawing because they come out good. But if we don't push ourselves to draw something out of our comfort zone, then we're never going to improve as artists. And that's something that I really should have done as my younger self. This is actually a piece that I redrew. The first time I drew it in 2014. It was mildly inspired by Esmeralda from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And then I redrew it in 2016. But both of those pieces are not even bust. They're shoulder up pieces of just their heads because I was so uncomfortable with drawing bodies back then. And now to think that I'm drawing a body and a background, maybe I'll draw this again in 2 years and see how much improvement comes after that. On to the third point, artist envy. Do not be so sickeningly jealous of other artists. Be inspired instead. And now this is something that someone should have definitely coached me through, because even now I struggle with artist envy and seeing other artists being so incredible, like creating these masterpieces with backgrounds and everything, and not even seeming to struggle with it. And the reality is we don't really see a lot of the process that goes behind these paintings, and we don't see the years and years of practice that people have gone through and the hours of time they've devoted to their pieces to make them come out the way they are. And as a younger artist a year ago who had only been drawing then for like a couple months, artist envy was a real thing, because I would look at these pieces and I would say, well, why can't I draw like that? I could do it, but nothing in my head was coming out the way I wanted it to on paper. So that would come out into this like really gross jealousy against other artists, which is really stupid, because we're all in the same community. We've all been through similar processes. We've all put just as much time and devotion into honing our skills. So instead of being envious of these people, we should be inspired by other artists. So let's not be jealous, but be inspired instead. Number 4 is, for the love of God, use references. Who was I to think a year ago that I could draw like a Van Gogh masterpiece without using a reference? Like, I thought I could redo any pose without reference. I thought I could draw anything from the top of my head because, oh my gosh, I was so good, like so amazing. But I don't know why, but back then I had such a thing against using references, and I have no idea why, because I use them religiously now. This whole piece was but inspired by references for the pose, the background, the tarot cards. Everything had a reference because I needed to know how something was designed, how her body would be placed in contact with a chair and a table. The designs of a tarot card I was not familiar with, so I had to use a reference to see how that would work. There is nothing wrong with using references. In fact, it is highly encouraged to use references. The only issue is when people start using other people's art as references, because then you're kind of not developing your skills, you're just kind of copying. So it's always encouraged to use references from real life. Your best reference is yourself. You can take pictures of yourself in any kind of pose and use that to draw, and then from there you can start adding your stylistic choices. There's nothing wrong with looking at other artists' art for reference, as long as you don't outright copy. That's going to be something for another video, but copying in some forms is okay, but there is a way to do it without it actually being straight up stealing. So that's number 4. Use references, please. Do yourself a favor and use references. Don't think you can draw some gymnastic monkey chimp flying with fairy wings without a reference. You need to build up that visual library before you can actually rely on your brain to do something for you. And number 5, the final point, is the cheesiest point, but it's don't give up. Like I said, my art journey really only started a year ago, because all those years before, those 20 years before, where I was picking up a pencil and drawing, I just kind of gave up. Back then I was really more into portrait arts, and I would do a lot of realistic portrait drawing, and I'll insert one here if I can remember. But yeah, so these were the types of drawings I was drawing when I was like 12, 13, and as much as I loved doing them, they did take a lot of time, and they weren't really something that I was interested in doing. I really wanted to do something more cartoony, like I was seeing online from other artists on DeviantArt at the time, and I'll insert some pics of the cartoons I was doing here. But I was, again, this is coming back to point 1, but I had no patience to let my skills develop, and I had no patience to practice my craft, and I didn't want to push myself outside the box. And I got frustrated, and I got artist envy, and I didn't use references, so I gave up because I wasn't seeing improvement, because I wasn't following steps 1 through 4. And that's the biggest tip that I can give to someone, is not give up. A year ago, I'll post what my drawings looked like a year ago today. This is what it looked like, and it wasn't that good, but I didn't give up, and now I'm drawing stuff like this. And I think what's really disheartening is when you see a young artist going, oh, I'm not going to draw anymore. I'm just going to give up because I'll never be as good as this person. And that's sad, because this young artist has only been drawing for like 2 years, and the one that they're comparing themselves to has probably been drawing 15 years. So that's it. Just don't give up. It takes a lot of time and effort to get to the skill level that you see your artist inspirations that are at. So that's all for today, guys. I really hope that you managed to learn a little thing or two. If you're a young artist, don't forget to study up on these rules. They really will help you in the long run. And maybe in 2 years or a year from now, I'll do another art video addressing myself from the past year. So thank you all for watching, guys. I post new videos every Thursday. Subscribe and like if you're ready to see more content, and I'll see you guys next week when the surf's up. Bye!
These roads intersect, on each one I reflect.